VIRTRA is tough because you're talking to a screen and waiting for certain prompts, so you kind of have to be very intentional with everything you ask or the feedback you give it, or you won't get the response that you're looking for, which kind of throws you into a loop. It can be very confusing. But other than that, I love it because you're not getting anything sent back at you, so it slows your heart rate down a little bit, but it's still intense enough that you're getting something out of it, especially some of like the active shooting scenarios that we've done in there. They're brutal.
We go in that first radio call, the screaming, the gunshots, everything. I had real life adrenaline and anxiety going into that.
It really helped with understanding radio communication, like you arrive on the scene and before you even go through the doors, you just hear gunshot.
Go. I got radio.
So you have to pull out your SIM gun and enter the movie theater and find a threat, but at the same time, communicate with dispatch, letting them know what's going on, where you at.
It can put you in a situation that you wouldn't be able to be put in on the street without actually being in a live scenario, so it's definitely valuable training.
It's all recorded, which is better than our scenario training because we don't record. So this one, you at least get to see exactly what they're talking about when they tell you something you did wrong or something you could do better.
Communicate with him. I got one on the right. Are you good? Yes, I'm good. So he can stay focused on his side.
It's another tool that you can add and train with and learn, active shooter stuff or how to engage with emotionally distressed person. Any kind of training that you can get like that is going to be beneficial.
Taser training is one of the things that we do that they have the greatest amount of anticipation for. They don't like it, they don't want to do it. Sometimes they even try to figure out a way to get out of it, but it's a rite of passage. We put you through that so that once you get out on the street, if a citizen happens to pull a taser on you, you will already know how your body reacts. It is a lot easier to make a decision on how you're going to use force against a taser if you have been tased before. Anything other than that is just speculation, and speculation's not good in court. The vast majority of our recruits, they don't want to do it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, let me do this. I know it's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that's what we want them to understand. This is 5 seconds of pain, and afterwards, you're fine.
You'll get people on the street ask you ever been tased before? And you can say, yeah, I've been tased. I didn't look forward to getting tased myself, but as the class supervisor, I told the class how to do it with them, so I did it.
How was it?
It was terrible.
Again, team building exercise, and to teach these recruits that is a dangerous weapon, and it completely incapacitates you, and you need to recognize that that's something that suspects should not get off your gun belt.
Oh, I loved it. Like, that's not crazy to say.
The first one goes in, you're like, all right, it stung a little bit, and then when the second one goes in you, it's just your whole body locked up. It's a long 5 seconds. It definitely counts all the Mississippis in between the seconds.
You know you're alive once you get hit with that taser. 5 seconds of just pain.
I tried to see if I could move during mine. Wasn't gonna happen. I couldn't move my fingers, let alone my body.
My body was just like putting your finger in a light socket. You couldn't move your mouth, you couldn't move anything. I was like seizing, like it was just like nothing. And then as soon as that zapping stopped, it was like an amazing feeling, just being done, and it was instant.
You can almost feel like the electricity just bouncing back and forth between the prongs, and not what I expected at all, and it really sucked.
Taser training is nerve-wracking. I think the sound is what makes it so bad. You know it's only for 5 seconds, but listening to your classmates scream and writhe in pain for a few seconds can kind of psych you out a little bit. But knowing that I can take it and it'll be over in 5 seconds, I'll be just fine, that doesn't seem that bad.
Definitely know now that if I ever have to use a taser, I know it works, it's useful, and it's only 5 seconds where the spray could last for a couple days. And it's also good to know the tools you wear on your belt are functional and how they feel if you have to use it on somebody else. If somebody does get your taser, it's a real deal. Like, you need to really consider using deadly force on that person. So I think that was also very eye-opening for me. It's like, especially after getting the exposure and actually understanding what it does to your body.
County uses the new X10. That's what we got trained on, which is an amazing piece of machinery. Really, really cool, especially with the scenario-based training that we did in the afternoon. For that scenario on Taser Day, it was a disturbance at a UPS store. A guy was refusing to leave, so you had to go in, talk to him, kind of ascertain what was going on, and then at some point he would stand up. He pulled it like a butter knife out, and he would start, cutting his wrist up, and you had to tase him to stop him from doing that. I didn't do too bad on that one. I was still getting the hang of using the Taser. I think when I pulled it out, I forgot to turn it on initially, but yeah.
Nice search is an active shooter block. I call it the Super Bowl. I bring in about 30 role players on those days. My entire goal is that nobody is sitting in this classroom.
Hey, Lewis County Police Department, make yourself known!
One of the coolest things about night week is just because all of our training throughout most of the 6 months is all day shift and you don't have to use a flashlight. At night, it kind of brings a new edge to things. Gets your adrenaline going, makes you be more aware, I think.
First scenario is a woman is screaming outside of a house, and because it's an exigent circumstance, the recruits have to search a house, which we then fill with OC spray, and the recruits have to fight through the feeling of not being able to breathe, and that turns out to be a nothing search, so to speak. Then they have to do a big active shooter in the fire tower. Every scenario has a teaching point. The recruits went up the stairs and saw somebody banging on a safe with a brick. The right answer was you pull the suspect out towards you. You don't go in to get them. If they did the training that was taught to them, they pull the person out, handcuff them, make announcements, and the other person gives themselves up. If they suck in and let their emotions get the better of them, it's met accordingly.
The stone tower, that one's tough because those stairs are really, really steep, so you never know what environment you're walking into. So having to find your way through the dark through a less than ideal environment is tricky, I think is the easiest way to say that. So you're looking everywhere at once, but also watching your feet so you don't fall, which causes a bigger issue. Meanwhile, you can't hear anything besides your heartbeat in your ears. And then you're just praying that your partner's kind of on the same wavelength you are. So you're always looking everywhere at once.
It's a burglary scenario, so of course you're gonna go in, have your firearm out, and make sure you clear the room and make sure that the house is safe and empty.
We were forced to put our back up against that wall, and then you couldn't see up the stairs. So I trusted my partner. Honestly, having that trust was probably the best thing.
So one of our instructors said, hey, there's sometimes you don't always need your flashlight on inside of a building. So I just used the natural lighting. We were going up the stairs and I was like, hey, I talked to my partner, I was like, turn your light off.
We came in contact with a female. She had a rock or stone. She was trying to break a safe. So we just gave her commands.
Drop whatever you have, put your hands up and slowly walk to the sound of my voice. So called the person out, got them on their knees, and then put them in handcuffs.
The tricky thing was that if you went into the room, instead of having her come to you, there was somebody hidden in a dark corner, ready to shoot you, like in the back.
I know a lot of groups got kind of lured into that room and got into a shootout. My group didn't. We were able to call the female out of the room, so we didn't end up having to go into that room at all. So there were no shots fired on that scenario for me and my partner.
The one I typically run is the active shooter scenario. It takes place in the red fire tower. The recruits respond to just a citizen contact. That person says they saw two gentlemen enter the school with rifles, at which time the shots are fired.
That one should be a winnable situation. They have to go back to the basics of how to search stairwells, how to search hallways, always looking behind them, covering their six, and then once they meet the suspect, engage them.
The red tower is a different feeling because even though you know it's a scenario, it's not real. It still shoots your adrenaline through the roof, especially when you hear a shotgun blast and you're out in the middle of the open. You don't have anything to jump behind. So it's 0 to 100 very quickly. And then you're running through a giant dark building that we've never been in before. It's intense. It's one of the most intense nights at the academy.
We have our flashlights on, it was super dark. I wouldn't expect them to be that dark on the inside. We just hear them talking and screaming and also like shooting shots inside the building.
You try to follow up to the door that they were standing at. They close it, you can't get in, so you have to find a new way in, you get in there.
You have to go up the stairs and then turn around towards him when he has a clear shot at you the whole time.
So when we do like our stair training here in the building, there's the cement stairs, so there's no visual through to see your way up. There, it's everywhere, it's a grate. You can see everything. and then you can get shot with everything too.
We turned the corner and the guy was pointing a gun at us, so we were able to shoot him. I already knew there was a second person there just because I heard people screaming back and forth. Peeked the door a little bit and then they started shooting at us again, so Snow and I were able to kind of communicate and work together and then find the other guy and stop that threat as well.
I think it's really about a violent course of action. You have to be pushing through and keep moving while also communicating, because it's pitch black in there. There's no windows, you can't get moonlight inside. So you're using your flashlights, but you can't leave it on too long because then they'll see where you're at. It's very tactical, it's a lot of fun.
You really get to put a lot of the things that we've learned in the past few months into practice all at once. And we never do anything else in there throughout the academy, so it's all brand new. It's like, well, you can't just take off running, you have to actually pay attention to what you've learned and apply it. I think that's one of the best role plays or scenarios we do here.
And it culminates in a big active shooter situation here inside the academy, where we have 2 shooters and recruits have to communicate. We have 2 teams of recruits coming from different sides of the building, so they have to worry about if somebody steps around a corner, it might be a student in a school, it could be another officer, or it could be the suspect. So we pay for every bullet that leaves our gun, and we need to make sure what we're aiming at.
My group entered through the basement, we had another group enter through the front, and we had to keep communications with dispatch, who was keeping communications with both sides. So it was a lot of like, the shooters are making their way through this hallway down to this room from what the other group had said, or what we said, they would adjust their movement.
We heard shots fired on the radio. We got the okay to go in and were instantly hit with gunfire, and it was just go.
You are trying to figure out where the threat is, how fast you can get there, how safely you can get there, helping people, but at the same time, you don't want to hurt anybody else. You don't want to have your adrenaline go up where you're putting other people in harm's way, friendly fire.
We gave verbal commands to each other. If there was a closed doorway, we yelled out, closed doorway. If we were going to do a pie search of a room, we tapped each other's shoulders just to make sure, hey, we're good to go. And then we made sure we covered each other's back.
And all of a sudden, you all kind of gather in the hall to walk down as a unit, and this loud bang goes off. And you'll watch everybody just drop or scatter. You see who people are when they do it, because they'll either scatter and like kind of go for cover, or they'll all like take a second, pop up, and then move in towards wherever the sound came from or the threat and head towards it.
What did you do?
As soon as I heard it, I dropped at first because I didn't know whether it came from forward, left, forward, right. I just knew it was forward. And the only door was open to the left, so maybe a half second after dropping, it was up, and my entire group, we all moved as one. So I know who all my guys are.
It's loud, it's chaotic, and I think they do a great job of really emulating what it's actually going to be like. It's going to be a lot of screaming and fire alarms and door slamming and random shotgun blasts and everything like that. It's terrifying if you're not in the right headspace for it. I could see where that would be incredibly scary, even for recruits that know like this is coming.
It teaches us, even though there's chaos going on, you still rely on your training. I think everyone's training kicked in correctly. We were able to take out a threat, get people in handcuffs.
Getting to see, all right, my weaknesses are this strategy and everything, but your weakness is my strength and vice versa. So it was kind of nice to see how we kind of fit as a big puzzle to get it done.
Simunition is basically paintball that is fired through your actual gun that your department uses and is propelled by a little bit of gunpowder. It gives you a physical reaction. It lets you know you're alive. And if you add that little bit of pain response to things, everybody will make a different decision.
The sound of a sim gun will probably forever be in my nightmares.